So you want to know if it's really possible to make $20 million in just 3 months? Well, I'm sure it's possible to make even more in even less time, but it really did happen to me. From the time that I started my company until the time I signed an agreement to sell it for nearly $20 million, it was a mere 3 months. Was I incredibly lucky? There's no question I had to have great timing, but I also had to have the right product and I had to take action. Hello, my name is Michael Smith, and I want to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of all the businesses I've been involved with. More importantly, I want to show that you can take similar actions and find your own successes. And I want you to see that the barriers to success are nowhere near as big as you might imagine. My aim is to be respectful of your time. I know it's your most precious asset, and this is not a short video. But if I have any value to offer you, it's simply this. I've made and lost money. A lot of money, made and lost, in the only 8 ways I think you can make any money. And you can learn from my successes and my mistakes. I put together a sort of post-mortem analysis on everything I've done, and it's helped me to frame what I want to do next in my career. I'm making an argument for what I view to be the most compelling business model I've seen. I don't know if it's for you, but I do think it's worth investigating, especially if it's being offered by someone who's experienced the ups and downs of a lot of businesses, and especially in this economy. When I left college with my degree in English, I worked for 5 high-tech companies in sales and marketing roles. When I got laid off from the last software company I worked for, along with 3,500 other people, it came with a 4-month severance package. I raised $500,000 and I started my own software company. And in 3 months, we had customers in 160 countries and multiple buyout offers. We sold our company to Ameritrade, and my business partner and I were multimillionaires in an all-stock transaction. So what was it I did right? It seems anytime I've had success in business, I've done 5 things. I've followed a trend, applied some kind of leverage or scalability, partnered with the right people, had good timing, and I took action. The trend I saw for my first business was a massive interest in trading and investing. When the baby boomer generation started to have some investable money in the late 1990s, they grew an insatiable appetite for information on how to invest. And I was very interested in learning how I could use technology to help me gain an edge. There were a number of stock screening applications available at the time, but they were painfully slow. The reason Google is so quick when you run a search is because the information has already been indexed or searched for by Google, and they're simply recalling the results for you. So back in 1999, we had a similar idea. We said, to make it quick, let's just pre-process the data ahead of time, and we'll have all the results available. We indexed the data, and anytime a stock search was conducted with our software, the results were as quick as a Google search. As you might imagine, other people found this very valuable. And the leverage of tens of thousands of customers using our product is what attracted our buyout offers. So we leveraged the power of the microprocessor and databases and made it more scalable by crunching all the data prior to people asking for it. It might sound like a clever idea, but it was really just applied common sense. Leverage was critical. Even more critical was having the right partners. I can recognize a good idea when I see it, but I have 0 programming skills. I had 2 partners that were brilliant, and together we were a good team. And there's no question our timing was very fortunate. We sold our company right at the height of the stock trading craze and the dot-com frenzy. We were lucky. But to take advantage of timing, you have to recognize the trends, apply some kind of leverage, partner with the right people, and take action. Doing those 4 things gave birth to the blessing of timing. There's a lot of great ideas that never get acted upon. Our world is led by people who choose to show up and take action. The second business I started enjoyed incredible material success as well. And the hallmarks for success were the same. I followed a trend, applied leverage, partnered with the right people, and I had fortunate timing and took action. My partners and I followed the evolution of the baby boomers once again as they realized trading stocks took a lot of time and expertise they didn't want to invest. So they put hundreds of billions of dollars into hedge funds. And we started our own hedge fund. That was the trend we followed. The leverage we applied was the leverage of stock options. An option is the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a stock at a future date for a set price. In practical terms, it means you can control a large amount of stock for 1/10 the price of actually buying it. Most people buy stock options and nearly all of them expire worthless, so we sold options. I had an interesting idea on how to start and grow a business, but I needed software engineers to program our strategies. So I partnered with the best in the business once again. And we had fortunate timing again too. Between 2003 and 2008, there was not much volatility, creating a great environment to be a seller of options. But again, to capitalize on the fortunate timing, we had to follow through by taking the action of building our systems and starting our fund. Now, I don't want you to think I've lived a charmed life with nothing but crazy good luck. I've had plenty of bad luck too. When we sold our company to Ameritrade, it was in an all-stock transaction. And before we could sell the restricted stock that was granted to us at $20 a share, it had gone down to $2.50 a share. And while we made millions managing money for baby boomers in our hedge fund, we lost a significant amount of money for ourselves and our investors in 2008. And as good as these two businesses were when they were performing, neither one of them created ongoing income. I don't know what your personal situation is, but mine's been pretty good. My home's paid for and I have no debt of any kind, and I send my kids to the best private schools in my area. I even have a nice rainy day fund that would last for years. But I'm 45 years old, and if I add up the money we spend each year and times it by another 45 years, I don't have anywhere near enough money. I simply got to make more money and, more importantly, keep it coming in during my retirement. So here's the exercise I went through trying to figure out the best way of achieving this. Well, I've always tried to apply those 5 critical success factors of following a trend, applying leverage, having the best partners, picking the right time, and taking action. I've had my teeth kicked in and been humbled by each of the 8 ways I can think of to make money. So let's look at each of these 8 ways from the framework of those critical success factors. The first way is the most common way, and that's having a job. Most of us have a job or have had one at some point. My first job was as a technical writer. I wrote the manual for using WordPerfect software on a Unix computer. And yes, it was about as exciting as it sounds. I lasted 3 months as a technical writer before I became a sales rep for WordPerfect in Washington, D.C. My salary went from $23,000 to $60,000 a year overnight. While it was a great change, I still wasn't in a good position with many of my success factors. My partners were great people, but we were too slow in adopting the trend of Microsoft Windows. And it allowed Word to dominate the word processing category. No one uses WordPerfect today. To a lesser or greater degree, most jobs are inhumane. It's an outdated relationship with only minimal mutual benefits built in. The employer wants the most they can squeeze out of the employee while paying as little as possible. The employee wants just the opposite. I've been blessed to have some pretty good jobs and salaries, and I hope you have been too. But there's always too many things getting in the way of you simply adding value to your employer and getting fairly compensated for it. As far as leverage, as an employee, you have almost none. Your sole leverage is hoping your boss will recognize your hard work. And regardless of whether they do or not, you have a severe restriction on how much money you can make and the time you have to enjoy it. The idea of a pension is a relic of a bygone era. Political advisors are now floating the idea of allowing troubled states to declare bankruptcy for the sole purpose of escaping from their retirement fund obligations. So I did what some who are tired of having a job do, and that is I started my first company. It can be very rewarding, and I'm not talking about the money. I once received an email from a gentleman retiring from Merrill Lynch who said our software was the best product he'd used in 25 years in the business. There are few things so satisfying as having someone say, I like what you've created and I'm willing to pay for it. But as I mentioned, starting a business usually takes a lot of money and requires taking huge risks. Remember, I had to raise $500,000 to start my business. And while having a business can cover 4 of the 5 critical success factors, it rarely allows a kind of leverage that leads to more free time or passive income earning. That was the lure that led me to try franchising, or the third way to make money. Once I sold my business to Ameritrade, I did research on the best franchising opportunities. I chose the beauty salon segment because I thought it had the best chance of meeting my success factors. And even more appealing was that it was pitched to me as a recession-resistant or absentee owner business. Meaning once you get it off the ground, you could be absent most of the time and still create passive income. I was very attracted to this idea, so I bought 3 Fantastic Sam's franchises. I built out one store and worked it for 6 months. To me, it represented the worst of the employee-employer relationship. It felt like a daycare center for young adults. And franchises are very expensive to start. With the credit crisis we've experienced, getting a loan for this type of business, or any kind of business for that matter, is incredibly difficult and rare. 60 Minutes recently ran an expose on franchising, reporting that success rates in franchising are about the same as they are for any startup, debunking the myth that they are success in a box. The only critical success factor my franchises met was the de facto standard of taking action. But it failed on being an absentee owner business. And as far as leveraging my time and money, it required working nights and weekends, and a successful salon brings in less than I can make working a regular job. I count myself very fortunate to have been able to sell my franchise for what I had invested in it. The fourth way I've experienced making money is by marketing products over the internet. Some people do very well with this, and I've had some success with it too in my software company. That's how we got our product into 160 countries so quickly. But before we sold out to Ameritrade, we had spent $500,000 of investor money, and it only brought in $50,000 in revenue. A lot of stars have to align to make internet marketing work for you. But internet marketing comes the closest to real leverage in the form of passive income. If you're selling an information product and all the content and timing planets align, you can get to a point where once the work is done, you make passive income while your niche is hot. The challenge is you have to be spot on in identifying trends and have impeccable timing. The fifth way I've made money, investing in the stock market, has been the most difficult of all routes to make a living. People in the industry throw out maxims like, you'll blow out your account at least 3 times before you make it as a trader, if you make it at all, and that you've got better odds making it as a professional athlete. I know from experience it requires years of expensive training and about 10,000 hours of sitting in front of a monitor. I had great success for 5 years, and then I was left with not much more than a painful lesson. As far as meeting the most important critical success factor of leverage, it can achieve this with a bucket load of ifs. If your timing is right, if you have the ability to divorce yourself from human emotions, if you buy low and sell high. But the plan of financial planners everywhere, buy and hold, has been proven a fallacy. The market is still lower than it was 11 years ago. Investing in stocks can work for some people over a short period of time, but I don't want my money at that kind of risk, and I don't want it going nowhere for a decade. The sixth way of making money is with a special skill, and it can literally be a rock star rush. If you can hit a ball farther or throw it better than most of the people on the planet, you can make a lot of money. But having a sustainable living as a performer or an artist is extraordinarily rare. My brother has an Ivy League education and is a professor and department head at an Ivy League university. He's won a Guggenheim Fellowship, that's essentially a Pulitzer Prize for art, and he's had 2 books published. Unfortunately, even with these phenomenal successes, he's afforded only a middle-class lifestyle, living with all the politics of academia and always fighting the publish or perish culture of working at a university. I even had some modest success with a stock trading video. I was asked to speak at a conference once on shorting stocks. That's a strategy where you make money if stocks go down. The event sponsor recorded my presentation and I received a 9% royalty. The video was really not very good, but it did become a bestseller in the space and made about $500,000 in revenue for the publisher. It was a nice little acorn, but the publisher was only obligated to pay me for a few years, and interest in the video died off. But writing a book or having a hit song provides leverage through passive income and time freedom. If you have these skills, it's worth serious consideration. The 7th way of making money is with real estate investing. For many years, it was a great investment. But with the oversupply of housing and the difficulty of getting a loan, real estate has become an opportunity for only those with massive amounts of cash and those who can wait around for years, maybe decades, for valuations to rise. I've made some money in real estate, but I've also had some money stuck in a new subdivision development for 6 years now. As for leverage, it's probably best to ask someone with a couple of rental units if renters and repairs make it worthwhile. The last way I've experienced to make money is investing in another company. I invested in an equipment leasing company that has had boom and bust cycles, but overall has done very well. Net-net, I've received a great return, well in excess of my initial investment. I've also invested in another startup company and lost every dime of the $300K my partner and I had invested in it. The company sold nutritional supplements in a network marketing structure. I took the risk because I was very impressed with the business model and because I have a good friend who's been very successful in network marketing. I invested largely because he knew the industry well and he invested. After the startup failed, I asked him why he took the risk and why he worked in the industry. Instead of answering my question directly, he asked me to read a short book, and it contains a simple story that showed what I'd never had in any of my businesses or my investments. The parable is set in a remote village where water has to be drawn from a river and carried over a great distance. The village leader offers jobs to two young men for carrying the water. The boys are initially thrilled with the offer of employment, but one of the boys eventually realizes his body can only carry so many jars of water, and more importantly, he's never feeling well enough at the end of the day to do anything but rest. He proposes to his friend that they build a pipeline to deliver water to the village 24 hours a day. His friend thinks the pipeline is a foolish idea, so only one of them builds it. You can pretty much imagine the rest of the story. The pipeline builder becomes not only a wealthy man, but one with discretionary time and income to enjoy the money. The story is sappy and predictable, but the wisdom and simplicity of the message had a striking effect on me. I looked back on my own experience hanging wall coverings with my dad when I was 17 years old. It was common for me to make $300 a day. But when you're trading time for money and working with just your hands, there's no leverage. And you never know when the next job is coming from. I live in a state with a concentration of network marketing companies. I've always considered this kind of work as appealing as having my eyes gouged out with a dull spoon. I've considered people who work in this industry lesser creatures, unable to make it in the real workforce. But the lesson that rings true to me from the pipeline story is the difference between wealth and cash flow. And more important to me, it's the perfect re-engineering of the employee-employer relationship. So by now you can see where my story's headed. I had to learn all about the companies I've always viewed as gimmicky. But the friend who sent me the book partners with a Dun & Bradstreet 5A1 rated billion-dollar company. That means they have the highest credit rating possible for any business. They have money to pay their bills, and they pay them on time, all the time. They're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and their stock is up more than 300% in the last 2 years. They have operations in 50 countries. They've been rated by Forbes magazine as one of the top 5 most trustworthy companies. After learning the company has 125 PhDs and scientists on staff, and the only supplements treating anti-aging at a genetic level, I had to sit down with the CEO. I've done it, and I've debunked all my myths, all my prejudices, and I'm on board. You know, it's a reasonable statement that no one was ever more reluctant or skeptical of network marketing than I was. But it really seems to be an ideal structure. You work as much or as little as you want. You carve out the rewards you want. All you have to do is choose the right company with the best track record of integrity and innovation, competing in the right markets. The amount of money you can make is astounding, but even more amazing is that it keeps coming in. You see, what none of my businesses have ever had is leverage or passive residual income. Most intriguing is the leverage you can get from teaching other people to do what you do. There's no question hard work is required. Everything I've done, success or failure, has been hard work. But what networking allows that none of my previous endeavors has ever offered is annuity-like income. If I work in this industry like I've worked in all my other businesses, I'll have unmatched time freedom and cash flow, even when I take extended breaks in the business. And your relationship with your peers is complementary and synergistic. I'm really reluctant to use those buzzwords, but it feels great to work with people knowing at the outset that your motivations to help each other are cemented in mutual benefit. You're on equal footing. And there's no reason to conjure up ulterior motives. The constraints of the traditional workforce are gone. And you work with people from all social and economic backgrounds. I have a friend who is a professional baseball player. He's got more than $10 million in the bank, and he's in network marketing. I've done business transactions with Nathan Ricks, who's made tens of millions of dollars in network marketing, but he still works every day because he loves the business. It's not about making millions to me. It's the difference between wealth and cash flow. Wealth is often fleeting. It's about recurring cash flow and being able to have people working with you and for you in a healthy, no conflicts, no BS relationship. I genuinely appreciate the time you've invested to listen to me. I just want to conclude with one message. Remember when I said I was fortunate enough to spot a trend with the timing of starting my software company? Well, we're at the beginning of a similar opportunity with anti-aging. It's the fastest growing sector on the planet. Every day, 10,000 people in this country turn 60 years old, and this will go on for the next 15 years. That's a big deal. There was $170 billion transacted in this industry last year, and it's projected to grow to $400 billion in the next decade. So there's room and time for us to make some hay. And these products aren't the same lotions, potions, juices, and vitamins peddled by all the other companies. These are technologies functioning exclusively on a genetic level to stop and reverse the effects of aging. And our company is full of former CEOs, lawyers, doctors, huge multi-chain restaurant owners, and some people just looking to make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month. They didn't find success by turning their friends and families off. When you've worked in this business for 18 months, you'll see that the people having results in your team are new friends, referred to you by current contacts. The network of network marketing is as simple as it sounds. It's what you'd do if you were going to add a room onto your house. You'd start by asking the people you trust. Who do you know who's a good architect, a good electrician, a good plumber, a good framer, and so on? You start with the people you know and network. And you put people at ease with a simple phrase. Who do you know that? And then fill in the blank. If they want to be involved themselves, they'll ask you more questions. If not, they'll refer you to some people who are good at marketing, who are entrepreneurial, who are in a career change, or who are looking for a more flexible career path. Hey, we're building a team of leaders, people looking to break out and do something extraordinary with their lives. People who know what they want their lives to look like and also realize that the traditional way of doing things just isn't going to get them there. Now I realize you may say, hey, thanks, good luck, but I like my job and I'm happy doing what I'm doing and I'm not looking to change that. And you know what? That's great. You may just be one of those people who love to use the products to look better and feel better and have people compliment them on how great they look. Either way, this is something you absolutely have to see for yourself. To me, network marketing solves the problem my software product solved. We reduced the process of finding stocks that previously took 15 minutes down to a fraction of a second. We made a long and complicated process scalable. The risk and work required to get this going is significantly smaller than with my software company or anything I've ever done. And instead of having my income take a nosedive during a recession, it's much more likely to increase. When unemployment is high and credit tightens, the best network marketing companies do even better. It also registers well on all of my critical success factors. When you teach other people to do what you do, and when it's a simple replicatable pattern, you gain leverage, and everyone participates equitably on even footing. All the research and development, manufacturing, packaging, marketing, shipping, and logistics and accounting is handled by someone else, experts in their respective fields. That's real leverage. As for partnering with the right people, this company has the highest credit score offered to any business. They've paid out more than $7 billion in commissions. That's 7B as in billion. Forbes magazine thinks they're one of the most trustworthy companies. You get to pick the people you put on your team. There's no employee or employer. We've covered the timing and trends. 90 million people in the US alone purchased anti-aging products last year. And it's not just the baby boomers. Half are under the age of 40. Taking action now will put you out in front of that trend. When I raised money to start my software company, I asked my friends if they wanted a chance to get involved. We offered something that was much faster and much easier to use than competing products. There was some risk in the investment, but they missed out on a 1,200% 3-month return. That's a rare opportunity. My friends kick themselves all the time for missing out on that one. Working with me this time around isn't going to yield the same quick return, but the opportunity is incredible. There's very little risk, and the verdict is in on this company. They've already paid out more than $7 billion to their partners. Now, what you've seen today is a similar situation. Timing, technology, positioning, consumer demands, all of it have come together to create another one of those rare moments. You're being offered the chance to get involved at the beginning of something that's going to be absolutely huge. The remaining critical success factor is taking action. I'm looking forward to having you be a real contributor on the team. Let's get together. Enter your name, email address, and phone number below, and I'll be in touch with you very soon. Thanks for your time.